This time of year, most channels promise you quick and easy summer meals. I promise you just the opposite. Would you like to spend several hours in the kitchen? Then I have a dish just for you, Trofie al pesto. I had it more than 20 years ago on a trip to Liguria, and I still can't stop dreaming about it. For me, pasta shaping is not drudgery, it's the most effective form of meditation and family bonding. This is my standard water-based pasta dough. It has only 2 ingredients, semolina flour and hot water. There is a lot of confusion about the correct flour to use because semolina is sometimes labeled as semolina on the package. Both semolina and semolina are ground from durum wheat, but semolina is ground finely and semolina is ground coarsely. Most American supermarkets carry Bob's Red Mill semolina pasta flour. That's the coarse kind, and it won't work, at least not well. I use Caputo semolina flour. It's okay if the package also says semolina, as long as you see the words semola rimacinata somewhere on the package. For some reason, this flour has been very difficult to find in the Boston area lately, so I order it on Amazon. The water for this dough needs to be hot, between 160 and 170. This produces a dough that doesn't shrink during shaping and doesn't stick. You can save yourself some time by bringing the wet and dry ingredients together either in a food processor or a stand mixer fitted with a paddle attachment. But the well method also works. Dump in the flour and the water and turn your machine on. Once in a while, you might need to stop it and rearrange the clumps. Depending on the size of the processor and the size of the batch, you might or might not get one big ball of dough. In a mixer, you'll get a lot of crumbs. That's perfectly fine. Once you don't see any more loose flour, get the lump or a bunch of crumbs out onto the counter. Make sure to get every crumb or your measurements might be off. Knead for 8 minutes. Here's how to knead. Fold the dough towards you, press with the heel of your palm, and rotate slightly. You want the dough to form a spiral pattern on top and to become smooth on the bottom. We've kneaded pasta dough many times on my channel. If you need more detailed instructions, look at the link below the video. Since we're using hot water, we are not developing as much gluten, so don't panic if your dough is not quite as smooth as the egg pasta dough. That's perfectly normal. I used to rest this dough after making, but I recently discovered that it's not necessary. The hot water prevents the dough from shrinking, so it's perfectly functional immediately. If you are not ready to shape right after making the dough, cover it with a bowl just until it cools off, wrap it tightly in plastic, leave it at room temperature, and use it anytime that day. The first secret to shaping trofie is the working surface. It doesn't work on granite countertops or other super smooth surfaces. The best surface for it is wood. If you don't have a wood counter, you can use a wood cutting board. A plastic cutting board is also a good option. The second secret is that you can't add any flour during the shaping process. The flour removes the friction that you need for shaping. So the good news is that you won't have flour all over your counter and floor, and the shaping process is relatively clean. Cut yourself a little slice of dough. Keep the rest of the dough covered with a small bowl or plastic wrap. Plastic wrap is more effective, so unless you're working very quickly, I'd use that. Roll out your dough slice into a rope working from the center to the outside. You want a rope that is about 1/2 inch in diameter. Cut this rope into little pieces. They should be about 1/4 inch wide. From here on, the work surface starts to matter, so make sure you do the next 2 steps on wood or plastic. Firmly roll each piece of dough with your palm into this shape. Use the back of your palm or your second and fourth fingers to taper out the ends. Once you get the step down, you can use 2 hands to speed up the process. Then place your pastry scraper diagonally on top of the piece of dough and drag it towards you. See how the pasta curls up? Place them on a cooling rack or a baking sheet, or if you have a ton of counter space, you can leave them on the counter. Just make sure to keep them in a single layer. Here are some tips on efficiency. If the dough starts to dry out, it will become very difficult to shape. To prevent this from happening, don't cut too many pillows. If you rolled out a long rope, cut it into smaller ropes and wrap up all the pieces except for one. I like to put all the pillows about a foot in front of me so that I can quickly grab them with both hands. My right hand pushes the finished pieces to the right and my left hand pushes them to the left. This keeps the area in front of me clear and ready for rolling. Pasta is a team effort. Get your family and friends to help you. One person can cut the pillows, another person can roll them with their hands, and the third person can curl them with a pastry scraper. The only task that is somewhat tricky here is the curl. Be patient with yourself. Learning the curl takes practice. If you're getting frustrated, you can always skip it. It's still a delicious pasta, even without the curl. Store Trofie in a single layer at room temperature and serve it the day you make it. You don't want it to become stiff and brittle. As long as it's bendable, you can keep it uncovered. If you live in a very dry climate and notice that the pasta becomes too stiff, cover it with plastic wrap. Freezing is also an option. Put Trofie in a single layer into your freezer just until it's hard, about an hour, and then move it to a freezer bag. Bring a Knead quart pot of water to a boil. Salt it through the roof. There is no salt in this dough and it cooks very quickly, so your pasta water has to be outrageously salty. Add the pasta, stir well, cover and bring to a boil. I'm only cooking one portion now and saving the rest for dinner. As soon as the pasta is in, set a timer for 2 minutes. Watch carefully and uncover the pot once you get a boil to avoid a huge mess on your stove. Once the 2-minute timer goes off, start tasting. Mine are done, but if they weren't done, I taste every 30 seconds until the texture was right. If you're cooking from frozen, it might take an extra minute or 2 to get to the right texture. I'm using a spider spoon because I want to keep the water, but if you have a big batch, you could drain this pasta in a colander. Mix your pasta with pesto and plenty of butter and serve. What's the ratio of pasta to pesto? Oh gosh, I don't know. It's a bit like asking what's the ratio of bread to butter. Some things you just need to learn to eyeball. Pesto is very stretchable. If you don't think you have enough, you can compensate with butter. If you're using my food processor pesto recipe, 1 batch of pesto for this batch of pasta would be plenty. If you're using my mortar pesto recipe, you might need 2 batches of pesto for this batch of pasta. And of course, you can cut the dough recipe in half and make a small batch. Have fun playing with your dough, and I'll see you next time. Here are more very detailed culinary tutorials for you to check out, and if you are ever in the Boston area, maybe I'll see you in one of my classes.